15 seconds, just saying.
It is more than 15 seconds, I agree. This will all probably be on the recording.
That's okay. Got no patience. That's one of our characteristics, isn't it?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the very first Evolving HR live session of 2026. I'm not going to say Happy New Year because I hadn't made an agreement with somebody the other day that once it got to the 10th, we had to probably stop doing that. It feels like a reasonable... Do you think the 10th is a good sort of cut-off?
Well, my criteria is when I start writing 2026 on every date, and I'm not there yet.
No, I still keep putting 2025. I totally hear you on that.
Totally.
So today's topic, there's a little bit different for us. So this is, yes, it's HR related, but this is a topic that is very close to my heart. I am 52 right now. I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 50. And for any of you that are listening that have been through a late diagnosis process, you'll know that this brings up a mixture of emotions. Those of us who are the female of the species tend to be late diagnosed because the research just hasn't been there around ADHD in women until fairly recently. Any men who are listening in at the moment may have known that they had ADHD since they were kids, but a lot of us did not. So instead of evolving providers, although Kate, you are an evolving provider, instead of a panel of evolving HR providers today, I have invited 3 lovely ladies from my ADHD community. You see what I did there with the name? I am so proud of that.
Yes, that's good, that.
I'm really proud of that. And it wasn't even a ChatGPT one. I came up with that with my own brain. All 3 of the ladies that are joining me today are either still working in HR or used to work in HR and still work in an HR adjacent capacity. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves because you can always say it better than I do. So just tell people who you are, where you are in your own ADHD, my fidget toy, where you are in your own ADHD journey, and where you're based. So Reba, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. All right. I am Reba Q. Quattlebaum. That's for you, Kirsty.
I love Reba's surname, but she never says it.
I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm undiagnosed, but fully aware that I meet all the criteria. For me, I just don't want to get medicine, and I like the more natural path, and it's been working. We'll see if it continues to work in perimenopause.
That's the challenge. That's the test.
That's a topic. Kate, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'm Kate Jenkinson. I am where am I in my HR journey? Sorry, ADHD. I was trying to say the two together then. So I was an HR director for 25 years, or a career for 25 years, and not diagnosed through any medical route, but self-diagnosed as a result of my daughter's eating disorder diagnosis, which again was not diagnosing her neurodiversity, but it was clear to her and to me that's what was underlying it eventually, and therefore my own self-diagnosis. Where am I based? I'm in my home office.
Yep.
In South Yorkshire, Doncaster.
I was going to say, I think you're in Doncaster, Kate.
I'm in Doncaster. I know, just to help me out there.
Yeah.
It's like I was being very literal because I think I'm probably ADHD, so there's a very literal part of me that then goes off at wild tangents. I'm trying to stay to the script. Stop.
Brilliant. And Nikki,
hi,
tell everybody who you are.
Yes, so I'm Nikki Jenkins. I've been in HR for about 30 years, mainly L&D. Last role was as head of HR, and I'm now setting up, or have just set up, my own consultancy to do a variety of stuff, but preferably the L&D route of things. Talk about a late diagnosis. So when I was 56, my kids are both on the spectrum diagnosed. My son at age 3, my daughter at age 11. And then my daughter went for her ADHD diagnosis in 2021. And while we were there, we'd built up a brilliant relationship with our consultant over the years. every question that came up around the testing and everything, I was scoring much higher than my daughter. And eventually the consultant said, so do you want to go on the wait list? And I said, no, same as Reba, I'm not interested in the medication. I've gone through the menopause. So you wait, what you got is what you've got. And I actually quite like it now. I would say the best thing about the research and joining the groups like this is the amount of, that makes sense moments.
Yeah, the penny drop moment.
Moments. Just for those of you that are listening in, do you want to just pop in the chat whether you are diagnosed with ADHD, whether you're going through that process right now, or whether you just have a sneaking suspicion? And also, I'd be interested to know if any of you would consider yourself late diagnosed, or if any of you have known since childhood. So yeah, just pop that in the chat for us, because it's just really interesting, and it'll help kind of guide the conversation a little bit as well. I don't know about you ladies, but when I first got diagnosed, I didn't really know anything about it. And I've kind of had to learn as I've gone along. And what you were saying, Kate, about one of the things that I've found is really, really common in our group is a lot of people have realized that they have ADHD because their kids are going through the diagnosis process, and they're reading it and thinking, oh.
Yes, and also clients. So I had this sort of, real strong belief that I had to understand neurodiversity because people were coming into my coaching space who are neurodivergent. That I need to be a good coach for these people. And then as I was going on the training, it's like, oh, well, that's really interesting. I didn't know hyperfocus was part of ADHD. I thought that's why I wasn't ADHD. Now it makes sense. So like that whole learning also helped me understand that that was me too. Yeah. My daughter never had a proper diagnosis. She was misdiagnosed. So, there's not only a underdiagnosis, there's kind of misdiagnosis as well. The chat's going mad. I love it.
I do too, yeah. There's a lot of late diagnosed. Hoppy's here. Hello. I love that you're just curious to learn. So I know we've got some questions that we shared in advance, and I will come back to them, but just a word of warning to those listening, like we all have ADHD. The chances of us staying on topic are probably none. But we'll try and entertain you. What has been something, a trait of ADHD that you realized post-diagnosis and thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
What has jumped out at you as, look, I had no idea that was part of it?
For me, it's the RSD, the rejection stuff.
Yes.
I used to think I was overly sensitive. It was this thing, I couldn't let things go. My husband's autistic, and he always keeps saying, why can't you let it go? And I would go. It would just keep going in my head. So that for me is like, okay, so there's a reason, there's sort of ways to cope with it. And that has been the biggest revelation. I think the hyperfocus, like you say, the ability to do 50 different things, the ability to switch things really quickly and not care, that's all great. But that was the one that I think made the biggest impact on me.
Yeah. I think my biggest surprise, and this is it's a small one, my biggest surprise was the fact that caffeine really doesn't affect us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they give us stimulants to help us focus. So the medication that I take, Ritalin, is essentially speed. It's an amphetamine. And because I have chosen to go the medication route, although I don't take it every single day, but the fact that they give us speed to help us focus, and the fact that caffeine doesn't really have any impact on us. Like, I'd always known that. Like, even now, my husband, bless him, I actually gave up caffeine about a year ago because it was like, what's the point? And even now I'll say at like 9 o'clock at night, can I have a coffee? And my husband will be like, this late at night? And I just look at him and I'm like, and he goes, oh yeah. And I said to somebody once, I just joke about this, I'm really glad that I never wasted my teenage money on Coke and speed, like recreational stimulants, because they wouldn't have had any impact either. And I'm like, I've saved a fortune. I was never interested in that anyway. But, I remember someone saying to me once, please promise me you'll never do that kind of drug because I can barely keep up with you as it is. And I realized that I kind of have that natural high going on with the energy. So for me, it was that. It was like, oh, my God. Like caffeine. And anyway, yeah. How about you, Reba? What big surprise for you?
I was going to say the rejection one hit me pretty hard. We talked about that one day in the group, and I was like, oh my gosh, they know me. I spiral fast. I would say outside of that, the hyperfocus. And I was like, oh, a lot of us can get a lot of work done in like 2 hours. That would take someone like 2 days. And I was like, I just thought I was weird. I was like, finally, someone said it out loud. So I would say hyperfocus for me. I'm like, okay, this explains a lot. Like even my master's degree, they're like, oh, your paper's due at midnight. I'm like, oh, it's 10 p.m.
There's a phrase in I've still got time. It's like The Incredibles. I've still got time.
We were talking about this the other day. You know, I wrote my dissertation for my degree in 3 weeks. We had a year. Mm-hmm. And Michelle Hartley replied to that on LinkedIn and said, yep, I did mine in 3 weeks too. And someone else was like, yeah, I did mine in 3 weeks too. It's like, there's no way. You give me a year to write something, I ain't going to start it. Long. That's ridiculous. But I think one of the biggest learnings for me has been around forgiving myself for that.
Yeah.
And being okay with that. It's not wrong just because it's not how everybody else does it. But that's how I work. Do I turn in good work? Yep. Have I ever missed a deadline? Not really. So like I can do it, just choose not to spread it out. My husband, when he did his degree in his mid-40s, and he said they'd give you 2 weeks for an assignment. And I said, how would you tackle that? And he said, a little bit every night for 2 weeks. And I was like,
exactly. just kill me now. That's torture.
Not a chance. So, oh my God. How about you, Kate? What really surprised you?
Well, I think all of the above, and also something about the response, the freeze response. Now, it's fascinating because, you know, there's things you kind of don't talk about, like, well, just sitting in your car when you're on the drive, not coming into the house, because actually that's you regulating before you people again. And that sort of freeze response I never quite understood. And I didn't think it was an issue, apart from the fact it's not very good for time management. Never can be sure when it might just kick in. And people misunderstand a freeze response. Like if you are in a meeting, the fact that you're not fighting or flighting and you're freezing, it's not great. And it's good because you don't create conflict, but everyone takes silence as yes, and it isn't. And so at work, I had this awful kind of alternating people pleasing and freezing response, and it was terrible. And that contributed to my burnout. And of course, burning out as a neurodivergent person, that cycle of burnout, I hadn't realized that's what that was. And I'm giving you everything now, and being bored, intensely bored, knowing that the most inspiring thing somebody ever said to me was, right, you had a brilliant year, let's do it all again. And going, oh, just give up. I just don't want to do all that again. I want to do something different. So yeah.
I think that's the first kind of understanding with it, isn't it? That we have interest-based brains.
Yes.
It's so critical to understand that. So if it is, what is that blooming acronym that I can never remember?
Is for the motivation, the INCUP or pinch or
pinch.
Pinch.
Yes. Can't remember what it stands for. Can you?
I can, because I'm a words person.
Kate. Of course you are.
Passion, interest, novelty, challenge. I can't remember what H stands for because I use INCUP, but urgency. The only overlap we've got with neurotypical people is urgency. So they've got importance-based nervous systems. They know what important is. We're like, yeah, I know what that word means, but actually, what does it mean? So forget that. We've got so much more going on. We've got, is it new? Is it exciting? Is it challenging? Do you say it's impossible? Let me at it. And if it's in our passion area. But urgency is the route to burnout. That's why so many ADHD folks burn out, because we just used urgency and adrenaline and deadlines to get stuff done.
Yeah, 100%. And it's when we bring it round to like what typical HR work looks like, this explains why when I had to write an employee handbook and no one gave me a deadline for our Netherlands refinery, Kate, it took me 3 years.
I never finished.
I'm not joking. My colleague Sarah, in the end, I was carrying around, I had this paper copy of the damn thing, and I was carrying it around for so long that the pages were going yellow. And so my colleague Sarah was like, is that still that bloody handbook? And I'm like, well, no one's asking for it. So I'm obviously not remotely interested in writing it. There was nothing making me do it. If someone had said, we need a handbook in the Netherlands by the end of next month, I'd have done it.
You'd think exactly. You who wrote a book in 3 days, am I right? It's possible.
I wrote a book in 3 days, but, you know, we joke about it, but, you know, I started at 7 o'clock in the morning and I worked till 10 o'clock at night. I forgot to go to the toilet. I didn't wet myself, luckily, but Jules came into my office at 10 p.m. and I'm sitting here rocking and typing. And he was like, have you eaten? No. Have you? I think you need the loo. No, I'm fine. No, I really think you need the loo. And so, yeah, but the other thing, I don't know if any of you in the chat are, who are listening, are familiar with the concept of spoons as a unit of energy. We talk quite often in our community around whether you've got enough spoons left. So if you think about, say, for example, you have 10 spoons of energy to use each day. We might use all of them up by lunchtime. And then once you've got nothing left, you've got nothing left. And that's kind of how our energy goes as ADHD.
That's that freeze response. That's like, I can't, you know, what did I used to freeze at work? Probably just if I had an office, it was great. I'd just go in there and sort of like do nothing for a very long time.
Yeah.
That's not good really, is it? But that's reality. And then like Reba said, in the space of 2 hours, get the whole day's work done because I had to go home. So that was my deadline.
Yeah. And as Charles just put in the chat, boring needs more spoons. It totally does.
Yes,
like if you are not motivated to do the thing, you will use up more energy to get it done. So after I wrote the book in 3 days, which was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I was blooming useless Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week. I sat on the sofa like a potato and because I'd used all my spoons for a week in 3 days. So that's the flip side. You know, I used it all in one go. So let me just actually think about like some of the actual questions that we were going to talk about. So
yes,
why is it that you think HR attracts so many people with ADHD traits? So just quick as an aside, this community that we have started out as a Facebook group. There are nearly 600 people in that Facebook group. So there are a lot of HR, and that's just the people that, you know, have seen it through me. That is a lot of people. And, you know, I have some theories on why I think it attracts ADHDers, but I'm interested in your thoughts. So, Nikki, let me ask you first on that. What do you think? I'd see Eric's just put constant novelty in the chat.
But I was going to say, it's a combination of the people pleasing and the just variety. It's like, you never know what you're going to get. You're never going to know how your day's going to go. You can have as many plans as you like, but somebody's always got to ask you for 5 minutes, and then that leads to whatever. But yeah, I think, and the people pleasing, and I think that's one of the things that we are champions of people, and I think that's why ADHD HR people get more upset by injustice than anybody else, because that's so important to us. So I was the one that always was the one that would stick my head above the parapet and call somebody out or have the difficult conversation. And I think that's where it's really good. But it's exactly what fulfills me is doing that, is fighting for people, is being on the right side of the law or the right side of the moral law. But yeah, it's variety as well. It's just literally that you do not know what's coming next. Any day.
Absolutely. That's a huge one for me. And I've noticed the very strong sense of justice is a recognized ADHD trait, isn't it? So, yes, HR definitely lends itself to that if you're in the right environment. So, you know, I will think back to my oil trading days where, you know, my sense of justice was challenged regularly by some of the practices that went on in some of those organizations. So that didn't always feel like a good fit. I noticed that Ryan has also put in the chat, I think we're quite empathetic. Oh, we absolutely are, Ryan. That's another one, isn't it? The empathy piece and that feeling what everybody else is feeling. And there's a real, it's the emotional labor, they call it, don't they, of working in HR, that when you work in HR, you get to hear about all sorts of things that are going on with people that you then take them on board, you take it very personally. I mean, any of you ever faced with a termination situation where you've got to let someone go, but you know it's their birthday, or you know they've just had a baby, or they've just moved house, and it tears at you. It's horrible because you do, I don't know, you just really feel for them in those situations. It's funny. Go
go
on.
to and sorry, interrupting you there.
No, please do.
I in those situations used to think, if somebody else who didn't have my empathy were doing this, they wouldn't do it in the best way. At least it's me who's going to give them a dignified, respectful support and exit. So I would hold on to that thought, because it's the most awful thing to have to do for people in our profession, whatever it is, whatever the reason. So
I remember once when I was the other side of the table, I was about to be made redundant, and I went out and bought cakes for the redundancy because I felt so bad for them. Because I was like, I know this is the worst thing you have to do, and I feel really bad. So here you go. Here's some cakes to get you through the afternoon.
See, I like that though. I think that's the positive. So the bit we haven't said is we're so enthusiastic. I see this all the time when I do personality profiling with my clients. I can, and I know they're ADHD or they've got diagnosis, or I suspect, and the enthusiasm comes back as a strength. And it's like, yes, because we are the natural cheerleaders, you know, we love to get into a good cause or support something. I used to say I was the first follower. Yes, I'm okay as a leader, but I was the first follower. I'd get on board with anything. I'd find a way to make it work. And that sort of championing of people and the profession and what we do, I just think we all bring that. So I think that's why we fit into HR so well. Yeah. Or used to.
Yeah, Reba, what do you reckon? Anything else that you'd add to that?
I don't know. I think about ADHD. I think, okay, it's everywhere, but why HR? I think it's a bit of the variety. For me, it's a bit of the justice. Like, I want people to be treated fairly at all aspects. And so for me, I'm like, I think it calls us like, okay, what can we do to make people feel sane? We've been on the outside for so long. Sorry, fidgeting. To kiss my block.
I was going to say, have you got fidget toys as well?
I'm feeling like I haven't. No, I'm having to use my cup, and it's not the same.
But that's hilarious. You just get a little glimpse of it. But I love that, you know, because when I was at work and I'm on a Zoom call, I can't let this come into shot. But with you guys, and when we're talking about this, it doesn't matter a damn that I'm holding a fidget toy and spinning it around with glee. Yeah. So sorry, Reba, please.
No, I saw my blocks and I was like, they're in the picture. Go back forward.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Anyone in the chat use fidget toys? If you don't, get one.
Yes, do. I just fidget knit.
And, they are insight blocks.
I have multiples. I have Lego. I have this spinner's my favorite, but I've also got these things that you sort of take apart and build as well.
I've got one I could use.
Eric said, he said, I find it easier to be an arse when people are asking for things that can look at my justice and equity for the employees. Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely.
That is hilarious. Brilliant. Sorry. So where do you think that ADHD clashes with the sort of traditional expectations of HR around consistency and process and all of that? I'm already grimacing, so boring.
Creating handbooks, I think we can agree.
Yes. Oh yeah. Any policy.
Any policy, yeah. I mean,
I like the handbooks and policy because it can be consistent for someone. They know where to go and what to do, and it's equality and equity across the company.
Well, I was just going to say exactly what you said, Reba. If you can lean into the why you're doing it, not what you're doing. So what is the impact of this? It goes back to our strengths. We're strategic thinkers. If this handbook is going to make a difference to diversity, equity, inclusion, I'm on it, but not for the reason that I like writing a handbook.
Fair.
Or a policy.
That's really fair.
Yeah. What do we... Impossible behavioural expectations that aren't evidence-based. I hate things that we have to get behind that there's no evidence for it. And because of our justice sensitivity, it doesn't work. I can't help saying it. It doesn't work. It won't work. It's not the right way to do it. Can't stop that.
Oh my God, I used to get in so much trouble for that.
Yes.
Like we've decided we're going to do this, and I'd be like, that's shit.
That won't work. It's not
never
helpful,
went down well.
No.
That's a really stupid idea. Somebody tell me why we're doing this again. It doesn't make any sense. Oh my God, I've just had a penny drop moment on this call. There was one company in particular, we were moving us to the Ulrich model, but he hadn't thought it through. He was doing it because he read a book.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's not going to work. Like, you haven't thought this through. And it was a complete disaster, and they had to undo it all about a year later, but I'd left by then. Oh, that's so funny. Where else, Nikki, do you think it kind of...
I was going to say, one of my biggest struggles was always spreadsheets and being very, very accurate with data. Because I tend to be, like, I skim things and I race through things, like you say, leave everything to the last minute, race, because I've got an hour to do it in. So I don't do the dot the I's and cross the T's and take all that, effort over it. So that was always one of my difficulties, was I was always ready to move on to the next thing. I mean, literally, the 80-20 rule, I was probably more 70-30, but it applied really well for me. Unfortunately, that 30% when you're doing payroll.
Yeah, the only way I could manage myself to be good with spreadsheets was to do them on a Sunday evening, which is terrible, because that was because it was like, the deadline is Monday. I'm going to have to present this tomorrow. I've got enough quietness, and it would be evening. It'd be like 10 o'clock at night I'd be doing this, because that's when my brain would be calm enough to look at a spreadsheet and get accuracy into it. And so, yeah, this all leads to burnout. So, yeah, that kind of attention to detail, of course we can do it, but at what cost?
I'm the opposite. I'm at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would
one end of the spectrum or the other. Yeah. Wherever that quiet.
Yes, that was it, the quiet. Nobody was going to start it. And I used to use it as a reward. If I get this finished, that means I've got the rest of the day to do the fun stuff that I like.
Oh, God, I still do that now.
Yeah.
Like, if I get this done, I can go on Canva and muck around for an hour creating graphics.
I'm not really a morning person, but for some reason I got up early the other morning, got loads done. I'm thinking maybe I could do that now. I couldn't do it when I was in the workplace because the kids were the morning thing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's flip it on its head, and I'm going to go off script.
Leave me alone, Eric. Eric's making comments. Eric, I'm a happy person, okay? Because I am so what they're saying.
I've lost the blooming. I don't understand, Eric, either, why this conversation scrolls from the bottom up. It makes no logical sense to me. But at least, each time something new comes up, it does pop up at the top.
I'm just seeing Eric's dog. Yeah, apologies.
I wondered what he meant there. I was like, I got very distracted by that comment. Anyway.
Yeah.
What, ear flap dog?
No, the dog. I thought he was trying to tell us to do something.
Oh, is it Agnes?
Agnes wandered in as per normal.
There you go. I didn't see.
For those of you that cannot see and do not know, Nikki has this phenomenal Great Dane called Agnes, who, when she shakes her head, well, we can all hear it because she's huge. So the one of the things that we really wanted to cover was why it's not a bad thing, because I do think that somebody was telling me so two things I learned in the last couple of days that blow my mind. Right. So I was talking to a lady earlier today who has just written a book called ADHD Assets, which is all about the positive aspects of ADHD. When she self-published it on Kindle Direct Publishing, and the only category she could put it under was pathology.
What?
Yeah. So that's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned is I tried to reset my Instagram algorithm at Christmas because I get a load of old crud turning up on my feed, and you can change it. So you can put in topics that you're interested in. I put in ADHD. I tried it 3 times, and all you get is a message that says, if you need help, there are people you can speak to. Like it was the bloody Samaritans or something. And I was like, so it would not let me put ADHD as a topic of interest on Instagram. Cannot do it. Isn't that fascinating? So there is this, what's the word I'm looking for? There's this narrative out there that it's, some sort of disability or illness. And I'm like, it's just a different way of a brain working. And so let's talk about the good stuff. So in an HR context, what do you think really benefits you? And we've covered some of it because we've talked about why HR appeals to people who have ADHD. But Reba, what do you think? Which of your ADHD assets are really beneficial in HR?
The dogs out. That song kills me.
That's all in our heads now, isn't it?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, for me, I think it's perspective. I'm not thinking about the same way that you guys are seeing this or the viewpoint. I'm not picking it up that way. I think the perspective for me is an asset. It gives you something different. You can see things differently. When you're talking to people in the HR side, you can notice different things about them. Or people are always like, oh, but I didn't see it that way, but I think you're right. So it's the viewpoint perspective, I think, is an asset. You're just able to step back and be like, oh, yeah.
I think that's really, really key. I mean, they always talk about how having different perspectives on a situation is beneficial. And yet, yeah, they if they had the choice, a lot of organizations would be like, oh, they've got ADHD, but actually it's just that's that different way of looking at things. Ryan's just put creative problem solving. I am ignoring Eric and Charlie now talking about Charlie being in a band. I'm afraid that is an in-joke from our blooming community about Charlie being in a band, because she might have mentioned it once or twice.
Charlie's in a band?
We never let that go.
In a band, Charlie?
He's in a band. So sorry. So no, I love that different perspective. And Ryan has put creative problem solving, which is kind of linked to the different perspective. And we are brilliant at that. We are absolutely brilliant at finding solutions to things that perhaps other people haven't thought about. So that's a really key one.
Also linked to that is our ability to spot opportunities before others do. So the pattern making and seeking, which is part of the problem solving. But I think a lot of ADHD HR people have got strategic capability that is missed basically, misunderstood or appropriated by other leaders, so we don't get the benefit for having come up with a lot of the ideas and seen the strategic potential in a plan or opportunity. So I think that's massive.
I noticed that Nicole's put focus on policies and empathy with people, fair application of policies and procedures. So that's that sense of justice. That's now, if policies are something that interests you, then you're gonna nail it. You're gonna like go all in on that if it's interesting to you. So yeah, absolutely. I think go on, Kate.
I always used to get the difficult grievances to hold the appeal processes. It was me that did it, because I would follow it to the letter. I was really good at following it and making sure from a company point of view we'd done the right thing, and from the individual. So I absolutely agree with that. And at one point somebody said, Kate, do you want to have a job supporting employee relations? I went, no, because I like the variety and I like but the routine of doing just that. No, it was like, give me the really difficult ones, please, but not the routine.
I think one of the things I always used to say about when I worked in HR was that the best and the worst thing about it is that there will still be things after 29, 30 years that I'm like, no, I have absolutely no clue how to deal with that. And so that we talked about this at the very start, that like kind of freshness and constant challenge and new topics, and the sheer volume of different subjects that you have to be knowledgeable about at the drop of a hat. So there was a point, like my last HR role, I'm global head of HR, and I was responsible for about 6 or 7 different countries. And you could literally go from a meeting about the Swiss pension plan to a disciplinary process in Singapore, to a maternity cover in the UK, to a strategic planning meeting in the Netherlands. And my brain can just go bang, 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 and never lose track of that. And I would stop occasionally, and I'd recommend this, if you just stop occasionally and look back at the different topics that you've covered, because it's like, my God, I know a lot of stuff. And so that, I think, not everybody's able to do that. I do think there's because of the interest. as well. Quick question for Kate, and then I'll come on to you, Nikki. Someone has asked me anonymously, so how do you manage the contradictory traits of ADHD and autism? I struggle with the need for stimulation and novelty, but getting sensory overload very quickly.
Oh.
We could do a whole separate
Well,
session.
I was going to say, I went into a freeze response then. How do you? Well, how do I? I mean, you know, I write poetry, so for me, I have to process verbally a lot of stuff, and the ADHD brain is the sort of one which goes through a creative process, but or if you say autistic traits, and poetry through and through, you know, I don't have, it's so deep, my interest in this, it just is in everything. So it's like I've got a special interest and a passion, put them together, poetry, you know. And I think that's the thing about ADHD. They can be contradictory, but they can also be really complementary. And if you are able to kind of, not that I ever realized this when I was in HR, but if you can lean into some of the structure and routine that the autistic traits like, then the ADHD has got somewhere to sort of bounce off creatively. But yeah, they can clash horribly, and you can just self-implode. And my self-implosion was that freeze state, I think. Just, I don't know what to do with myself right now, so I'm just going to sit here.
We've got quite a few ADHDers in the community, haven't we? I know there's a couple that are on the call today, but yeah, it's an interesting, I'm going to say, juxtaposition.
Yeah, that's a good
There's a long word.
I like that one.
Yeah, get me. It's just, yeah, I'm not, but I see the conflict sometimes with those of you that are in the community around, you know, the two different things.
You saw a bit of it at the beginning. It can be so literal sometimes. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, even my brain is going, they didn't mean that, Kate. And I'm going, no, but I just need to check that point out, because they could mean that, and I need to check that out. And then I look really stupid and going, ADHD me is going, you just made yourself look really stupid. I'm going, no, but it could have been. So I argue with myself going, can you just give me a break, please? I'm just so I have lots of conversations like I've just expressed there in my head all the time. I talk to myself constantly. Sorry, Nikki, go on.
All the time.
One of the most interesting things, though, is, so I am ADHD. I used to jokingly call myself the only neurotypical in the house, because my son is autistic with OCD, my husband's autistic, my stepdaughter's autistic, my daughter's autistic ADHD. And it used to be this running joke that it's kind of like they all band together and do things a certain way that drives me insane. And I do stuff that drives them insane. And a great example was Christmas Day this year. I insisted, point blank insisted, the only thing I wanted was one family photograph. So we haven't had one for about 3 years. My daughter doesn't live at home anymore. She's got her own flat. It looked like a hostage situation. And my son was smiling, but there was nothing in his eyes. But he actually said afterwards, I smiled because Mum asked me to. And I was like, this sums up the autistic ADHD conflict sometimes. We've learned to live and adapt and everything. But yeah, every so often I kind of check myself, and I take it into the workplace as well. Very much check myself and go, okay, this is the way I see things, but I know it's not the way they see things. So we have to do things often for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My family doesn't have diagnoses, but I can tell you now, my dad, he's got a PhD in God knows, I don't know, physics or something. I'm a scientist, and but I've got no idea what he invented, heart valves and stuff, and he was very, very into whatever he was into. So definite autism from that side. So nobody with diagnoses at that level, but then my half niece, anyway, my half sister's daughter, half niece, she's got an ADHD diagnosis, shares the father line, so there's autism definitely there. So it's weird because I don't think a diagnosis would make any more sense because we're all different. So it's like just understanding it when you notice it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think that one of the things that my diagnosis has brought is just a really increased knowledge and ability to recognize it in others. And when, I'm not qualified to make a diagnosis, of course, but sometimes be like when Reba said earlier, I'm not diagnosed, but, and we're all like, because you just know, you just kind of do. And going through the whole diagnosis process, for a lot of people, it doesn't tell you anything that you didn't already know. What it does enable you is to get prescriptions for medication if you choose to go the medication route. But if you're not going to go the medication route, then the diagnosis doesn't add a huge amount. For me, I did it for peace of mind because my family were absolutely adamant that I couldn't possibly have ADHD because I had been successful at work. And I kind of did it because and then they did eventually shut up. But my dad has Asperger's, self-diagnosed though, but he knows. And my mum is I'm pretty sure my mum's got ADHD. One of my sisters has got is gone for ADHD process diagnosis. I can't speak diagnosis process at the moment. Both of her kids have got ADHD. One of them also is autistic. So it's just everywhere through my family, and it tends to be, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
it does.
It does tend to be.
It definitely does.
My husband has a completely neurotypical family, and it is so interesting to me to spend time with them because, no one talks 19 to the dozen. They finish conversations before moving on to the next one. And I'm like, gosh, it's interesting.
I don't think I could keep quiet. I couldn't. Like, even on here. Yeah, no. I'd struggle. Unless I went into freeze response. Go on.
Yeah. I said my daughter took her boyfriend home recently, and he's neurotypical. And the first question my husband said was, "Why are we small talk? Sorry, why?" And it was just like we're all sitting there going, we're used to it. And as I say, my son is very severely autistic, and talk about truth bombs left, right, and centre. So first meeting him, my son, bless him, we're having a family dinner and they're talking about relationships, and my son leaned across the table and goes, "That's why I'm a virgin." I sat back. I think Sarah's on here. Yeah, it used to be a source of entertainment in my work that I would come in and tell them what Ross had said, over dinner, or what he'd interacted with in a restaurant. And it's brilliant because it's so literal. He is just so literal. It's hilarious. I mean, he has done "Are you fat or pregnant?"
Oh gosh. Okay.
Which is the people-pleasing ADHD, or you can imagine how I felt as I was trying to explain and.
Well, I as a child once said, and I cringe now, but at the time, elephants were my favourite animal. And I said to somebody who was looking after me and my sister, whose sister's older than me, I said, I really like you. You look like an elephant. And it didn't go down well. I was like to myself, what did I say? What was wrong with what I just said? I mean, she was a very large woman, as you might imagine.
Oh, no. I've just seen Angela's comment saying, just realizing that I'm not broken and need to be fixed.
Yeah.
That's something that I want to stress really, really strongly to any of you who felt like that. You are no more broken than somebody who's left-handed is. There are just slightly less of you than there are of the right-handers, and that's all it is. It's amazing. When my sister first went through the process of getting her kids' diagnosis, she was ashamed actually at the thought that and it turns out that she's ADHD herself, but she was ashamed at the thought that she might have neurodivergent kids. And I've used the left-handed right-handed thing a lot with people because that's literally all it is. It's as different as there's nothing any of us can do to shape the way our brains work. There's nothing that we have done. Our brains are our brains, and so there's no such thing as right and wrong with it. It just is what it is. And that's been a huge thing for me as well, I think sometimes if you behave differently to the majority, there will always be people that will raise an eyebrow at that. But it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. And I do think that it's getting understood better.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a much better level of understanding in organizations. One of the reasons that I set up the ADHD community was because when we work in HR, we are expected to find solutions to other employees' problems. We are not supposed to be the people needing solutions ourselves.
Yes.
So I didn't feel like there was anywhere. There are a lot of people who work in HR who don't feel comfortable telling their employers that they have ADHD because they think that people would be weirded out by it. Or, I mean, there's a lady in our community, Claire, who was once told you cannot be in HR if you have ADHD.
Oh, no.
Really?
Just absolutely bloody ridiculous. It's like, yeah, you can, but I would love to get to a point where we're increasing people's awareness of it to the point that they are more tolerant about different ways of working, different ways of thinking, that sort of thing. But anyway, the reason we have our community is so that none of us feel alone in this field of work. And it's, it's been nice, hasn't it? It's been nice the first year.
More than nice, because I now work in my own business, have done for 5 years. I can't do what I do on my own without body doubling. And I was looking for a community which understood the kind of stuff that I experienced. So for example, was it the community? We often get stuck. And we can help everyone else get unstuck. But when we've got stuck, we need to be in a community. And somebody said to me, Kate, why don't you just mind map that out or write a poem about it? And obviously, I know that that's what I should do. But knowing and doing are two separate things when you've got ADHD. And just going into the community that just didn't go, well, you're stupid. It's obvious and had the solutions that would work for me and reminded me that that's what worked for me. And yeah, I got the stuff done that I needed to. I can't remember what it was now. I think it was, whatever. Thank you. It's way more than just a laugh. I mean, it is a laugh, but it's way more than just that.
Yeah, it's totally.
Those of you that are listening in, are you familiar with body doubling? Do you know what it is? Because a lot of us did not. I had been using a website called Flow Club for a while. I know that Charlie had used a similar sort of website before, but a lot of us didn't know what it was. So body doubling basically is you just get on a Zoom call or like we are now, and then we share at the top of the hour what we want to get done in the next hour, and then we just put ourselves on mute and we work like this with each other on screen. And I can't describe it because I think there's some witchcraft involved, but good God, you can get a lot done in an hour when you're focused and having other people there. And because you've said out loud what it is that you're going to do, the accountability is just phenomenal. And so one of the things that we do in the ADHD community is we have, it's going to be 8 body doubling sessions a week of an hour each, which I'm not the only one hosting them. Samantha and Claire are going to help me out with a couple as well. But what we've also been doing, Justine and I were on body doubling for 6 hours yesterday.
Oh, wow.
6 hours. So we literally we check in at 5 to the hour, and it's like, how did you get on with the things you were going to do? And then we'll pull each other back on track. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do in the next hour? And then we go again.
And there's no shame. What I love, because it's not that you can spend an hour and not have done the thing that you were there to do. And nobody goes, oh, that isn't what you were meant to do, is it? I mean, you get on and you go, actually, I've made a coffee, I've patted the dog, I've done this, I've done that. And it's like, oh, okay, do you want to stay on and do some more body? And then, yeah, I really ought to do the things I said I was going to do. So, yeah, that's no shame.
If somebody is struggling to actually get the stuff done and they want to share that and they want us to talk to them about it, then we do that. And Justine was talking about the other day about an issue that she had at work. And, of course, because we're all HR professionals, we can help with that as well. So it's brilliant.
That's right.
That was so helpful.
It really helps as well for some of the things that aren't work-related. I found self-assessment tax return done because I was
you did it on body doubling, of course.
So I literally, it's like sometimes it's the stuff we procrastinate over to the point of ridiculous. And there's something about such a safe space where you can say, I haven't done this and I've got to do it, and the deadline's the 31st of January, or I am. So it gives you that, you say, that accountability and that safe space to do it in.
And the other thing as well, being working for myself, it's hard to be visible sometimes. I ebb and flow, believe it or not. People think I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm really not. There are some times, freeze response again, I just don't want to be there. And coming into our community and talking about the things that you're really struggling with, it's a reset, and it's really lovely because you don't have the typical response of being shamed for what you are unable to do, and you can work out how to get back on track. So yeah, it's really good.
Communities. It's super good at, like, I'll come in and out if you're in the community. I like to read everything. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally understand. They totally see me. I totally get that. And then I'll hop on like a body doubling, and usually mine's not work related. And I'm like, I'm gonna get all this stuff done, and they'll be like, all of that stuff in this hour. And then, I may not get it. I think it's the same, like, there's no shame in our community, which is really fun. But you also don't have to feel like you got to respond every single day. And when you do, they love you. But I also want to put this caveat in. I met everybody in the UK almost.
You have, yeah. You came over, which was wonderful. It was
the best. It was like, oh, I definitely know you through our community, but having us all at dinner was one, comical, trying to get us to order and not laugh and be serious. But really, it's like, okay, everybody is really who they are in our community in person. I loved it. Except that, like, I think
there's been some like incredibly vulnerable sharing in that community where we've talked each other off RSD ledges sometimes. Yes. When sometimes people will just say, and that's one of the things that I love the most, is that people will open up. We've also had people who have gone through life having their tone misunderstood, having their words misunderstood, being accused of being a certain way because they've just said it slightly differently, and they have also been able to open up and say to people like, we've had people saying like, you're probably all going to hate me now and kick me out of the community, and we're like, no, there's no shame whatsoever. But I did not plan for this session to be like a sales pitch for the community, but anybody is welcome to join if they want to. I've put a link in the chat if anybody wants to, because somebody did actually say, how do we join? So I've put a link in the chat. But I think that the point that I really want to stress, I'm conscious of time, is just there isn't anything wrong with you, and actually you've made a career choice that actually works really, really well with the way your brain works. And if we can all focus on those areas that align really, really well with ADHD, rather than worrying about the things that maybe don't, there's amazing things that you can do, and it's an incredibly rewarding career. I just think sometimes I wish, as I said before, I wish that our organizations understood it a little better. But there's some great companies popping up now doing all sorts of education and stuff. I met with when I went to the Festival of Work last year, I met up with the two guys from NeuroBridge. I don't know if you've heard of NeuroBridge. It's a father and son. And the father, Simon, came to Evolving HR in Bristol, but they do like they've got like dozens of training sessions so the companies buy this training package, and it's got like, what is ADHD, what is autism, what is dyslexia, all of these sorts of things. And so it's awareness for managers. So it's not necessarily for people who have any of those neurotypes, or it's for the people managing them, because that's where I think the biggest gap is. Like, most managers are still expecting us all to work a certain way. Nikki, sorry, you had your hand up.
I was just going to say one thing. It's like, as I say, I've reached a pinnacle in my career. I'm kind of going into consultancy because I'm a pensioner. Well, I'm not really a pensioner, but I'm 60. And literally, one of the only regret I have about my career in HR is that I didn't build networks sooner. And that has been the biggest revelation this year especially. It started at the end of last year. Sorry, that's my dog's off again. But my biggest revelation has been that if I had had these networks 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago, what a difference that would have made.
Yeah.
What a difference that would have made. Sorry.
Yeah. But just think what you did achieve without them, and take the credit for that. But it is difficult to get to this stage. I mean, My dog's barking in response to yours now.
It's all going off here.
It's all going off, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's totally distracted me from what I was going to say. Just, I don't know.
The networks, as I say.
Networks, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing I found was that I'd connected with people a long time ago who I got on really well with, who were probably neurodivergent, and I could just pick up with them and talk to them. And so the networks were there from a lot of my clients now are from those networks from a long time ago, from those connections. So yeah, but networking is cool. So are dogs. He's grumbling. Mine's grumbling in the background.
I never did the networking thing either at all. I always, because I did a lot of standalone roles in my HR career. And so I felt, I don't know, I think I took standalone literally and felt that I, couldn't ask anyone else for help. Like, I'm standalone, so I've got to do everything myself. But I never bothered to network. Because, to be fair, like, I'm very old, and back then it was all in-person networking events. People didn't do Zoom calls.
I networked because it was a break in the routine. I think I did it because I was ADHD. It's like I have to go and meet some new people. These 200 people I'm managing, I know how they're going to behave today, and I'm just not here for it. I'm going to go and do some networking. I kind of used to just go out and meet new people at different events. I just got myself out there. So I think it was in response to being ADHD and getting fed up of what was happening in the workplace. And an excuse to get to work late because I've been networking, so it's all right.
I don't network. I always feel like I'm the odd one out instead of the odd one in. I'm like, how do I approach this conversation and not interrupt?
Exactly that.
Overly excited.
Yes.
And then word vomit. And then someone runs away, and I'm like, "Well, oh wait, I loved it."
Oh, you see, I guess I had no shame doing that at networking. I guess I was looking for the one person like me, and there was probably one person like me in that room, because they liked to.
Them.
Well,
Jesus.
Yeah.
I hated it. It was, I worked in the City of London, the financial industry. So it was like 90% blokes of a certain age. I am that age now, but I wasn't then. And I would just stand there. And I remember once, because we had name badges at this thing, we sat down for dinner and someone looked at me and went, "Oh, HR," and turned the other way at the dinner table and never looked back and talked to me again for the whole damn meal. And so, a few experiences like that, and you're like, I ain't doing this. Like, I am not spending my time this way. But I never networked with other HR people, and I don't know why. Because now you can't shut me up. I run bloody conferences and I'm all over the place.
You're making up for it now, Kirsty.
I know, I've got 2 communities. It's ridiculous. But the small talk, Reba's, you've just put it in the chat there. Small talk is hellish.
I don't think I did small talk. I basically was that weirdo and used to speak, and I'd say to them, "Oh, do you like the theatre or kind of poetry?" And if they said no, it's like, "Oh, they're not my kind of people anyway." So I'd just go around. That was the way I was, though. So that was what I just showed up in those places more authentically me than in my workplace. I think it was a chance to go and try and meet the others out there that were like me, the ones that dared to wear bright colours or whatever,
Mm-hmm. See, for me, Angela's just put, I freak people out wanting to really get the deep stuff immediately.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when you do find those people, oh my goodness, that's you and them sort of, you're in it then, aren't you, for the rest of the networking? Forget everyone else.
And that's been a godsend for me. Like, I went to the HR Big Meet last year. I went to the Festival of Work. I went to Wellnergy Festival. And I obviously went to Michelle's Geek Together, and I ran my own conference. And at every single one of those events, I went with people from ADHD, or I met them there, because I still can't to this day go somewhere on my own.
I struggle with that massively.
I can't do it. And so the fact that we've been able to do that for each other as well has been rather lovely.
That's why I wear hats, guys. That's why I wear hats. If you wonder where the hat wearing came from, it was because if people are going to look at me because I'm weird, I may as well give them something to look at. And I wore the hat so that they didn't look at me in that weird way. I thought, well, it's the hat, not me. And I was able then to turn up and be me and feel safe and okay. That's why I wore hats originally.
Oh my God. See, for me, that's always been dressing how I want to dress. I know I'm wearing bright green today, but if I can turn up somewhere and I'm able to wear my docs and I'm able to kind of got it up a bit, then I feel like me. But at any corporate event, I wasn't able to dress that way. I had to wear a suit and a skirt and heels and things like that. And so I never felt like I was myself. And that's something that's become incredibly important to me now, is to be able to just be myself, because otherwise, you're masking enough as it is without having to literally mask what you look like as well. It's
I'm the opposite. So anybody needs a companion to go anywhere, I'll speak to anybody anywhere.
There you go. We ought to set up networking body doubling, people that you can go networking with. There you go.
Yes, network partnering. I'll do that.
We've done that in the community when there's been events. There's been events up north, and like the northern group will go together. It's like I think you just keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. Yeah.
See, I like to go alone. I love going alone because what it allows me to do, I can like talk to people who are alone. I'm like, oh, look, I'm a loner. You're a loner. I'll say hi to you. I can find misfits. And if I go with somebody, I know I'll stick with them.
Oh, so like glue.
I break it out because I want to find somebody else who doesn't have somebody with them and say hello and how are you doing and give them compliments. Like I have a daily rule. It's hilarious. I have to compliment 3 strangers a day because I want people to be seen. It has to be a genuine compliment. It can't just be. So I do say at conferences, like I have to go alone and then I have to talk to someone I don't know. And I always try to give out compliments because I want to be seen. I want them to feel seen. And so
did you do that when you came over to the UK? Because I feel like we're so cynical compared with, I mean, like you're from America. You're much better at like being sociable and giving compliments. We're really kind of like standoffish.
I did. I used candy at each table.
Yes, that's the way to do it. Sweet winners, you won us over.
Yeah, it really works. I do. It's something I try and always do. And I'm people that know me know I'm obsessed with like scarves and handbags and things. If I see anybody with anything that I like, I go up and go, I love your scarf, or I love your hair. And all I do is I say it.
Yes.
And move on. You don't have to do anything else. But when it happens to me, I'm always like, oh, what? But it is that thing about, as I say, there's something about watching somebody smile when you say something to them like that. Like you say, they've been seen.
Yeah.
And it's a positive, and you just carry on walking. You feel good, they feel good. Why not?
I think the only type of compliments I ever get, and it happens more in the States than it does in the UK, is if I'm wearing a band shirt, someone will go, yeah, at me when they see it's a band that they like, and that's about it. I'm conscious of time because obviously we've overrun.
Oh, my.
Does anybody have any questions for us? I appreciate that we have used our full hour, but has anybody got any questions before we go?
And we have no patience, I know. Whoop.
The ADHD.
A cool course.
Yes, that's the okay. That Catherine is doing for anyone based in the States, HRCI credits for this and Shroom credits for this. So
cool.
You should totally get that, Reba.
I should. I have Shroom. Everybody. I studied for 2 hours.
For what?
SHRM certification. I studied for 2 hours and passed.
Of course you did, because you've got ADHD. Eric, no, we can't keep going. We need to let people get back to their day jobs. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to say thank you so much.
It's Poetry at Work Day. We have to have a poem. I meant to say that at the beginning. Sorry. Can I
Go on then?
It's not one of mine. It's Spike Milligan. It's based on what you've just been saying. I love it to bits. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I walked around the corner and someone saw me grin. When he smiled, I realised I'd passed it on to him. I thought about the smile and then realised its worth. A single smile like mine could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Start an epidemic and get the world infected.
I don't think anything else is required to be said, apart from I could listen to Kate read poetry all day.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming along today. If we've made anybody feel less alone, Nicole, I've just noticed that that's what you've said, then I would say our work here is done.
Yes.
And like I said before, you're all very welcome to join us in the ADHD community if you would like. I put the link in the chat. Or if you missed the link and you want to know more, then just pop me a message on LinkedIn. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you there. But thank you. Take care. And thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thanks for having
so
us.
much, everyone. Loved it.